Okay, good morning, class. Good to see you again. Now, today we are going to look at our new unit, which is Unit 7, and the title for this unit is Extreme Situation. All right, for this week, we will be doing only one skill, which is the reading skill. Okay, so if you look at page 83, you will see a picture of a man hanging, okay, hanging on the sky, and the man is actually doing rope jumping. Okay, so a rope jumping is a new type of extreme sport which combines the thrill of rock climbing, bungee jumping, and skydiving into one. All right, let's go to page 84. Now look at A. Read the breaking news about a real life story. Who are the people in the story and where were they? Where were they going? What do you think happened next? Okay, so look at the breaking news. Now read through. So Thursday, October 12, 1972, Flight 571 carrying Uruguay's championship rugby team took off from Montevideo, Uruguay, heading to Santiago, Chile. On the plane, there were 45 people, the crew, the Uruguayan players, and their friends and relatives. Soon after takeoff, the plane had to stop in Mendoza, Argentina because of bad weather. On Friday, October 13, 2:18 p.m., Flight 571 took off again heading to Santiago. And then about an hour into the flight, the pilot began the descent into Santiago, not realizing the plane was still close to the high peaks of the Andes Mountain. Now we will go to the passage, okay, because we want to know what happened to flight 571. So if you have your textbook with you, please turn to page 84, and the title for the passage is Survival in the Andes. Okay, now let's look through. All right, on Friday, October 13, 1972, a plane that had been flying from Uruguay to Chile with 45 people on board crashed into a mountain in the Andes. How some of the passengers managed to live is one of the great survival story. 29 people died in the crash and in the weeks following it. On the mountain, it was freezing cold and the survivors stayed inside the crashed plane to stay warm. They had very little food and were in very great danger while they waited for the rescue team. After 11 days on the mountain, they found a small radio on the plane and they heard the news that the rescue teams had stopped searching for them. All hope was gone. They were alone and terrified. Days became weeks. 2 months after the crash, after they had waited for summer to arrive, three of the passengers, Roberto Canessa, Nando Parado, and Antonio Vicentin, left to search for help. Each man wore 3 pairs of socks with a plastic bag around each foot to keep the water out, boots, 4 pairs of trousers, and 4 jumpers. Many of the clothes were from the people who had died in the crash. They also took with them a large sleeping bag that they had made. Only they could save the others now. How did these brave young men cope with the journey? None of them had climbed mountains before and it was hard. They climbed very dangerous icy peaks trying to reach the top of the mountain. Some days later, exhausted and cold, they reached it. They had imagined this moment for days. On the other side of the mountain, they wanted to see a valley below that would take them out of the mountain. But instead of a valley, they saw more of the same snowy peaks. Lots of them. They weren't at the end of the mountain and they were in the middle of them. What could they do now? But there was still hope. Parado saw 2 low peaks about 65 kilometers away that didn't have snow on them. If they could get there, they would be out of the high Andes. But to reach the peak, they would need to walk for more days and they didn't have enough food. But Parado had a solution. Vicentin could return to the plane and he and Canessa would take his food. They agreed to the plan and Canessa and Parado continued their journey. As they walked, the area around them slowly began to change. The men discovered a small river. The sun was warmer. A few days of walking, the snow had disappeared completely and flowers were everywhere. This is the valley, Canessa said excitedly. This is the way out. Soon they saw a few cans on the ground and some farm animals in a field. They knew there must be people somewhere nearby. On December 21st, after 10 days, the exhausted men reached the town of Los Montes in Chile, and a rescue team went to save the other passenger high up in the Andes. What had happened to them? Fortunately, they had all survived as they waited for the others to get help. The memories of the crash in the Andes would be with them forever, but their ordeal was over. They had made it out alive. Okay, so for this task, you are actually reading for general understanding. All right, so let's look at the exam close up. It is a good idea to get a general understanding of the message of the text before you complete the exam task. Read the text carefully from beginning to end without worrying about new vocabulary. This will give you a good idea of what the text is about. Go back to each paragraph and make notes about the main idea in each one. Then take some time to think about all the ideas in the text before starting the exam task. So this is the exam task, question 1 to question 5. Now read the text and question below. For each question, choose the correct letter A, B, C, or D. All right, so let's look at the question. Question number 1. What is the writer doing in the text? Okay, what do you think is the purpose of this writer writing about this story? Now, your first question that you must ask yourself is this writer involved or is this writer having this experience personally, or is he or she writing this story based on other people's experience? Okay, that is the question that you need to ask yourself when you answer question number 1. Okay, so the choices is giving advice on how to survive, B, explaining incredible past event, C, showing that air travel is dangerous, or D, writing an imaginative story. Now, I give you one example of imaginative story. You write about alien, you write about superheroes, okay? You write about superheroes such as Captain America or Iron Man. That is imaginative story. Fiction. You know, fiction means something that you create and it is not real. Okay, so basically survival in the Andes is based on true life story. Okay, it's based on true story. So I don't think D is the answer. So you can cross D. Okay, you can cross D out of the list. And then look at number 2. Why were the 3 men disappointed? Okay, disappointed means they have this sad feeling, they have this angry feeling because they are mad about something or they feel sad about something. So why do they feel that way? Is it because the view from the mountain was not very good, or they didn't know how to return to the plane, or they realized they had more problems, or they had not brought enough warm clothes? All right, so number 3, Vicentin returned to the crash site because A, he had lost hope, he didn't agree with Parado's solution, he didn't want to walk any further, or there was not enough food for 3 people. Now, for this question, you can look at paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can look at paragraph 5. The answer is there. Yeah. Okay, and then number 4, Parado and Canessa knew they were close to safety because They saw things that belong to people. They discovered a river. They had been walking for 10 days, or they were flowers in the snow. This one you can find the answer in paragraph 5 and 6. Okay, and the last question, question 5, the answer is not in the text. You have to think about this answer based on your reading. Okay, which best describe what happened to the people on flight 571? The survivor of the crash waited for many weeks in the plane for someone to find and rescue them. Or tragically, 29 people died when the plane they were traveling in crashed into a mountain in the Andes. Or C, in a terrible situation and with no hopes at all, the survivors found a way to save themselves. Or D, to stay warm in the freezing cold, they wore the clothes of people who had died in the crash. Okay, for question 5, what you should do is that's why you need to read for general knowledge, because you need to know the main idea of the whole text. Okay, you're not just only looking a main idea for every paragraph, but what does the text as a whole telling you. Okay, so this I think the hint, okay, petunjuknya, the hint is in last paragraph. Okay, and then you have to do D as well. Find the meaning of the word below, then complete the sentences. Now for for practice D, you copy the sentence and fill in the blanks. Okay, you don't have to write down the choices of answer above. So you go straight, write number 1, you will blank the car if you don't know how to drive it properly. So you fill in the blanks with the correct answers. All right, so with that, I would like to end our lesson for this week, and I will continue with you in our next lesson by discussing the exam task and practice D. Okay, class, thank you. See you again.